Yo. What's up? Thank you, Dan, for the prime. 10 months. What's up, Kvarts? Thank you, Jim Pierre. Why do you delete the podcast? It was like a 15-minute video. It's supposed to be an hour, so it downloaded wrong. I'm doing it again. Thank you, Bubble Gut. It's already done. It's just downloading. Explore me. Fuck my 10-month sub. Did you sub? Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. Thank you, Brenna, as well, for the 9 months. 9 months, you're slacking. How was the DMV? Didn't go. Couldn't get an appointment, so I flew right back to Nashville. Kristen, thank you for the prime. Leah's HOH is worse because she had 2 chances to do the right thing. Look, we'll get into it. That is the most indefensible take I have ever heard in my entire life, and I want to ban you. But I'm not going to, but I'm very much considering it because that's such a bad baseline to start the conversation. I just can't. Like, I don't even want to entertain that discussion. It's a crazy one. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Cooper. Yeah, so just your argument of like Leah had 2 chances to fix it. MJ had 2 chances, and on the second chance, made it so much worse. She made like a historical fumble, then won the veto and had a chance to fix it, and then made that fumble like a fumble touchdown. You know what I mean? Like, it was wild. Angela has the most successful HOH of the season. Are we talking Angela getting Matt out? Is that the one we're celebrating? Leah could have ended up in the same position. Yeah. I think Leah made a billion mistakes, but I think it wasn't a disaster. In the same way this one was. Not at all. The entire house would have been after the T-Core trio this week. Leah would have been safe, and she could have got at the bigger threat. At least MJ's line with Chelsie. Annika, you gotta understand, like, I'm not justifying Leah's move. Leah's move was really bad. Chelsie was the obvious target. MJ went from, in my opinion, the best position in the house to the worst and has 0 win equity. Maybe like a little bit if she gets next to Angela and she really is a goat. You know what I mean? And Chelsie might be targeting MJ in the double. It's like very possible. Cam might be targeting MJ in the double. Like, she doesn't have Chelsie as a reliable ally because Chelsie doesn't need MJ at all. For Chelsie, I think it's honestly not even a horrible move to get rid of MJ. I don't think it would be my move. Onika? I apologize. Onika. Any chance of Leah staying this week? I would say no. I think it's the first week where you're really drawing dead. I don't see any path forward. And, like, honestly, I want you guys to understand that it's not just me who says this, right? Like, I'm not sitting here developing my opinions on my own. You know what I mean? These guys are helping me too. You know? So, it's these decisions are very well developed, informed. And I just, like, if you guys are going to direct all your animosity towards me, I just want you to know that's misguided. It's a rich tapestry. They helped me develop the rich tapestry. Do you guys want to just get into player rankings? Do you just want to kick this off and use this as our platform to discuss all this bullshit? Terrence said MJ was worst HOH of all time. After I tweeted, let me know. After I tweeted, so all you bitches arguing with me on Twitter, despite this was so bad. Oh my god. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do player rankings. We're going to just talk about the season. We're going to talk about the double eviction, what we think each HOH looks like, and then we're going to get out of here. Who cares what Taryn says? If there's an expert on the subject, it's him. Okay. Let's just do it. Now, I must ask, because it's a question that isn't asked enough. When we do player rankings, right, when we rank the players from 1 to whatever the last number is, the formula we use, I mean, how would you guys describe it? Because it's not as simple as your short-term security. It's not really long-term security either. Competition ability is a factor, social game, strategic game, win equity, jury prospects, vibes. You would describe it as a rich tapestry. I like that. Someone write that down. I like the idea of the rich tapestry. I want to remember that for next time, right? Is this a Nick Wright bit? Nino, get out of the chat. It's a rich tapestry, okay? Thank you, Rick, for the prime. Now, unfortunately, you all, I'm busy today. I have the LSAT in about a week. I've got friends coming in, so I'm actually not able to do the entire player rankings. You know what I mean? I just don't quite have that time. So I do apologize for that. So instead, we're going to do an abbreviated version. And that means let's just start, see how much we're able to get through. So number 7, I see the poll's going. I'm going to let it run. I'm going to get it run. Like, I'm not going to be able to, but I still feel like it's my responsibility to give you guys a fully fleshed out, well thought out player ranking. So I'm going to do that. It just won't be me personally. So I apologize. But at number 7, we have Leah. But I can't explain, unfortunately. So I'm gonna leave that to my friend. Okay. Alrighty. Now, first of all, just to introduce myself to you all, my name is Edgar. I am the developer of the proprietary rich tapestry that Cory speaks about. You can't see anything. That reflection, it's actually a screen. I'm watching the stream from a different angle. So, as the developer of the rich tapestry, it's kind of been difficult to listen to Cory do all these rankings, and in a way, it felt like he was speaking for me, but from this point moving forward, I will be running the player rankings section of the broadcast. And, of course, Leah is number 7, right? So, anyways. The main reason why Leah is number 7, of course, is she's going to be evicted. Short-term security is a total 0. And while everyone points at MJ for making this disastrous move, I think it would be unfair to not point out all of Leah's stupid-ass decisions that led to this point. And I really like Leah. I think I'll be friends with Leah after. Leah's sister seems wonderful too. But she made a ton of mistakes that allowed this to happen. Number 1, we can go back to the first half of the game where she just played kind of poorly. But let's talk a little bit more recently. Quinn is HOH. Leah wins the veto and decides she's going to take Angela off the block. I think it's a very reasonable decision. Angela's a good asset to Leah's game, and I think she remained an asset. Unlike everyone else who kind of tried to pick up Angela as a number, Leah kind of did have Angela as much as anyone did. But Quinn did tell her, if you do this, I'm putting up Joseph. And she did it, and Quinn put up Joseph. It's also a dumb move by Quinn, but we're not talking about Quinn. So, Leah put herself in a situation where she was going to lose one of her greatest allies to protect Angela. Now, Angela's a good ally, but I promise if it was Leah and Joseph on the block, Joseph would be the one going home. Quinn, Leah on the block, Quinn would be the one going home. Yes, yeah. I can't read the chat. I don't have a view of the chat room, so let me pass it back. Yeah. So essentially, Edgar, what they're all they're saying they'd prefer me to do the player rankings. Um, it's kind of awkward. You know what I mean? Honestly, do you guys not feel comfortable with Edgar? Can we do a poll? Edgar or Cory? I just need to. It says Edgar, Cory. Both. Edgar needs to be more emotive. Well, if you guys don't like Edgar, let's talk to Commander Pause. Thank you, Care Bear. Woof woof. Okay. Of course, when we discuss Leah's game, we have to point to her using the veto on Angela getting Joseph eliminated, and then obviously that led to Quinn's eviction the following week. So she really is the one who kickstarted this whole downfall. So I don't have that much sympathy for her. And then, of course, you also have to consider her HOH. Well, personally, Edgar, I think her HOH wasn't that terrible, right? Like, at the end of the day, she had to pick one of these two sides to target. And while Chelsie was the better target than T-Core, T-Core was probably the number 2 best target on the board. Would you not agree? Yeah, I would not agree. And the reason why I would not agree is because if you're going to pick one of 2 trios to target, you should always target the trio that is more physically capable. And let's just play this out. You put up Chelsie, Chelsie goes home. Do you think MJ still flips? Well, frankly, I think MJ... It's kind of like 2 different things you have to consider. Chelsie wouldn't be there to convince MJ to target Leah, which is good, but MJ would be upset at you for targeting Chelsie. Right? So, would that even out? Would it end up with the same outcome? I'm not sure, because the trio would have been such a problem that MJ would have had to get rid of that it's almost like difficult to justify targeting Leah out of vengeance, right? Because for your own game, it's smarter to, get rid of T-Core, Kimo, or Rubina. I do hear that. Heard. You are valid, Commander. Pause. I think what confuses me a bit about that HOH reign is how would she have gone about getting Chelsie evicted? I feel like it's not discussed that much. Chat, what's the path for Chelsie to get voted out? How does it happen? You put up T-Core, and then Kimo and Rubina are 2 of the votes. I guess you have Angela against T-Core. I think it's possible, right? I think she could, right? If she puts up T-Core, Kimo and Rubina vote to evict Chelsie, and then it would be Angela making the ultimate decision. So, yeah, I think she would have the votes. Again, it's definitely on Leah. There's not too much to defend there. This week, I think she was just a little bit too passive, but I don't put this week on her as much. It's more so what she's done in previous weeks to allow this week to be possible. Her not targeting Chelsie last week, she admits was a bad move. Granted, if you get rid of Chelsie last week, there's a lot of different ways this week could go south as well. So I think, again, in the grand scheme of this week, I don't think Leah is the biggest loser. Okay. Well, who do you all think I have at the number 6 spot? Number 6, numero 6. Okay. I'm not even going to give you all the suspense. It's MJ. It's MJ. And it's very clear why it's MJ. she was in a position last week where she was in a wonderful spot. A lot of people were clowning on MJ for winning this HOH. MJ, you were in such a good spot no matter what. I disagree. I think winning this HOH was excellent for MJ. Really? Yeah, I do. And the reason why is because she had two clear-cut targets she needed to get out of the house. She was doing a very wonderful job of playing the middle between Chelsie and Cam and Angela and Leah. Both people knew they needed MJ to work with them. The two people who she did not want to work with were Kimo and Rubina, both of which are and were targeting MJ. Maybe Leah would have gone first, but if Leah wins the veto, MJ is absolutely cooked. Yeah, I hear that. I guess my confusion on the whole matter then is why were Kimo and Rubina not the obvious noms? Because putting aside all of Chelsea's manipulating tactics in terms of getting Leah on the block, MJ came to the conclusion of targeting Angela all by her own volition. That was not forced whatsoever. I've been thinking about exactly why, and I'm kind of lost on it. I think MJ viewed Kimo and Rubina, number one, as weaker competitors than Angela, which I understand that impulse. I think it's still misguided because Angela was an ally of hers, whereas Kimo and Rubina were not. I think MJ's playing a very scared game where she puts up MJ or Kimo and Rubina. One of them survives and targets her. And of course, Chelsea's in her ear the entire time. But it's very bizarre that Angela was ever in the crosshairs. But she did land on targeting Angela. She made the Angela Kimo noms, which already was a disaster. And the worst part about it was it wasn't even just... If that was it and Angela got evicted this week, it would be really bad for MJ. But I don't think it would be as big of a deal because Leah would still be there, and I don't believe Leah would target MJ. Even after a week like this, Leah still would have had MJ's back. And I don't think you would have made yourself as big a target to people like Chelsie, Cam, Kimo, and Rubina. The reason for that is just... you win an HOH, you win a veto, you get out Leah, who's this big threat. People are going to perceive your resume as being bigger than it actually is. I think the worst part of it in its entirety, which is maybe being under-discussed, is I think MJ just killed her... she killed her jury chances. I just don't understand. Everyone in the house, except for Leah and Angela, was totally playing MJ this week. Everyone was playing her, and everyone knows they were playing her. So she's not going to get any respect for this move. In fact, everyone's going to give themselves credit and take credit away from MJ because of this whole debacle. That's really, really problematic. Let me thank some subs, you guys. Thank you, Josie Tortellini. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Margie. Thank you, Care Bear. I appreciate all of you. Yeah, all right, anyways, back to you, Edgar. Yeah, the jury votes thing is extremely concerning because while MJ is basically everybody's target next week, I'm not exactly certain what Chelsie and Cam would do, but it seems like they've floated the idea of targeting MJ. Despite all of that, and despite all of that danger, she has a great chance of surviving the double eviction because that veto competition is probably going to be between her and Cam. I'm not sure there's another person who's even eligible to win that comp, frankly. So if MJ just wins the veto, she could save herself, and then all of a sudden she gets to play in every HOH and veto coming up. So she could get her way to the end. Even if, Chelsie or Cam win, they might keep her safe. But it's the long term now. If it's MJ versus Angela, I think MJ stands a chance. I think MJ versus anybody else, it's not competitive. So this one's on her, and I think it was just really kind of frustrating to watch her this entire week because you can tell deep down she knows what the right move was. Literally, you could see exactly what was going on in her mind and seeing her rationalize or trying to rationalize this irrational move. Her conversation with Leah after the back door, where Leah's saying, what did I do? And MJ's like, well, Chelsie told me you said this, and you did this to Chelsie, and you might be telling the truth, but Chelsie told me. it was like the classic example of she was citing her sources, and all of her sources were from the same webpage. It was all from one book. So it's frustrating because you feel like MJ knew it was wrong, but just like, and maybe this is an age thing. I often try to not attribute these things to age because I think it's overdone. But it felt like peer pressure a little bit from MJ. Let me speak to that. I think people overstate the impact of age when it comes to Big Brother because so many of Big Brother's greatest players were extremely young. Paul, super young, I think 22, 23 when they first played. Tyler, I think 22 when he first played. Ian and Steve, not two of the best players ever. Steve's certainly a really good winner. We're both, well, I don't know how young Steve was, but Ian was very young. He won Big Brother. Chada is a very strong player. She was very young. Like, for me, I was 21. I made a lot of mistakes, but it was a somewhat solid game. I think age, obviously being more mature and having more life experience in general is just an advantage in life. But I don't think there's any correlation between being older and being better at Big Brother at all. And maybe part of that is like archetype. Like the younger 21-year-olds are usually super fans, which MJ's not. But like, whereas the older players, or not the older players, like the middle-aged players are more like recruit vibes, at least when it comes to like the young nerd archetype. But I think it's a little bit overstated. I just think in this case, MJ does feel like she succumbed a bit to peer pressure because I don't think she wanted to make this move. Strategically, I think she made the move because she was scared of what people would say if she didn't. And a lot of people were just sitting there telling her, you got to do it, you got to do it, you got to do it. But yeah. Steve was 22. Exactly. I thought so. Thank you, Bubble Gut. Anyways, I'll pass this back. Yeah, so the gist with MJ is she was in a great position. She totally soiled that position. It's pretty inexcusable. She's the target of basically everyone going into this double eviction. Even if she survives miraculously, she'll be the target at the final 5. If she survives that miraculously, she'll be the target at the final 4. If she survives that miraculously, she'll be at the final 3. And she might get dragged to the end only to lose in a jury vote. There's not any redeeming quality about MJ's game outside of the fact that she could win competitions, but we've just seen a week where she won all the competitions and she made her position a million times worse. That being said, when people are talking about the, you talk about this. So when people talk about like the mistreatment of Leah this week, I don't think MJ's actually been one of the major proponents of this, honestly. Like, she's getting all the hate online because it was her, like, terrible move. But I think she's actually being relatively nice. And, like, I think in her conversation with Leah, even though she wasn't really listening, she was very hard-headed. She was still, like, I think responding appropriately and hearing her out and not being, like, unreasonably mean. She was meaner to Angela. Yeah, sure, but we're not talking about that for now. So I think MJ doesn't deserve the hate that she's getting on that front. Clowning on her move, that's inevitable when you make a move like this, but I actually think she's been she made a stupid strategic move that was not self-interested. It was just terrible. But I think it was a strategic move and nothing more, you know? Anyways, back to you, Cory. All right. Thank you. Let's go on to number 5. The bottom 2 were very clear. Everyone knew who 7 and 6 were going to be. But now, who's number 5? Kimo, Rubina, Kimo. Everyone says Kimo. Well, survey says Angela. Curious. Let me defend the Angela placement here because while I did not invent the rich tapestry, I sourced a lot of the materials. Angela is an interesting case because she survives this week once again due to very little of her own work. She's proven this point that the past couple seasons have proven where, like, if you're this archetype of player and you get deep in the game, it's almost impossible to evict you. And this season, it's even crazier because this comes off of Felicia making the Final Four in BB25. Quinn was voicing the idea of we have to get rid of Angela at some point. Now, here's the problem with Angela. Competition-wise, she's proven herself, I'm just going to say it, to be better than Kimo and Rubina. She's just better. Obviously, some comps she simply doesn't have a chance in. Whatever this double eviction veto is, I assume she's not going to have much of a chance in. The Final 4 veto seems like it would be a difficult one for her. Final 3, Part 1. Like, there's a lot of competitions that by virtue of being Angela, she's going to be in a lot of trouble unless they drastically change what these comps that have stood there for years have been. Also better than Cam in comps. Anything that's not physical, she's better at. Anything that is physical is not competitive, right? The problem with Angela is and has always been she just can't get the votes in the final 2. I feel extremely confident if she is next to Kimo or Rubina, she loses. If she's next to Cam, she loses. She's next to Chelsie, she loses. She's next to MJ, she might be all right, but is MJ targeting her? Here's what happens. I think if Angela wins the double eviction HOH, which is very possible, it's going to be a quiz, and she's very good at quizzes, Angela's probably going to target Chelsie, and I think MJ's going to go home. You know what I mean? I think it's like a really tough spot for her. Like, she wins HOH, and then what? Like, what does she do? What's her noms? Is it Cam and Chelsie? Okay, so she puts up Cam and Chelsie. Genius. Then what happens? Cam or Chelsie win the veto. MJ goes up. MJ goes home. Yeah, and even if she puts up Cam and Chelsie and MJ wins the veto, which is the next most likely outcome, she's going to take Chelsie or Cam off the block, and then Kimo or Rubina is going to go home. Like, there's no way this works out. The only possibility is you put up Chelsie and Cam, and then Kimo, Rubina, or Angela win the double eviction veto, which is really difficult. And then what? And then you vote out Cam? Because Kimo and Rubina are going to try to keep Chelsie. I would think MJ would even keep Chelsie potentially, but you don't even need it. You need 2 votes. What does MJ winning the veto do? If it's Cam and Chelsie and MJ wins veto, MJ's going to take one of them off the block. Kimo or Rubina are going to go up, and then they'll vote out whoever's left. The MJ winning veto doesn't solve anything. MJ wins veto, takes down Chelsie. You put up Kimo and Rubina, and then the MJ and whoever she takes off the block are going to vote out that member of that duo. That's why you put up MJ and Cam. Okay, you put up MJ and Cam. One of them wins the veto. Chelsie goes up, and the other one goes home. Cam or MJ. I think it is impossible for Chelsie to go home in this double eviction. You'd like to hear what Commander Pause thinks about this? All right. Just play through the HOHs here. Angela wins HOH. She's the only person who's actively targeting Chelsie. She puts up Chelsie and Cam. Chelsie will stay over Cam. If Cam comes off the block and MJ goes up, MJ goes home. If MJ wins, takes Cam off, Kimo or Rubina goes up, and they go home due to Cam and MJ's votes. Angela can't get her out. Cam and MJ are not going to consider getting her out. MJ can't even win HOH. Kimo and Rubina are probably going to nominate, like, MJ and Angela. Or MJ and Cam, maybe. And again, there's no world where Chelsie touches the block. Rubina, Kimo wins HOH, and Angela wins veto. So Rubina wins HOH and puts up who? Because there's always going to be a replacement nom that's not Chelsie, unless you're saying Angela wins veto, takes off MJ or Cam, which then forces Chelsie on the block, and Chelsie still stays. I think she is locked in. Thank you, Terps11. Thanks for getting that, Commander Pause. I appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. How likely do you think it is they wake up to Chelsie being a huge threat? I think Kimo and Rubina don't care, and I can't explain why. Cam has never seen the show before, and MJ is connected to Chelsie via God. It's a tough spot. This game is a little bit locked up. Angela would use the veto on MJ. Okay, Angela used the veto on MJ, and then you're saying Kimo or Rubina put up, let's say they put up Chelsie, And then they still are going to vote to evict Cam. Like, damn, that's tough. Does Angela have more win equity if she wins double HOH and Final Four HOH? I mean, maybe just winning comps is good. I think, honestly, what she needs to do is win Final 3 HOH or Final 4 veto. Those are the comps she needs to win so she can actively evict the biggest threat from the game. Thank you, Brianna. I appreciate it. Thanks for the 10 months. Thank you all. That leads us to the end of the chopping block. I think these three are in a really rough position. Angela's in a much better spot than MJ and Leah, but I still think it's quite dire. She's on the bottom. She could very easily go home during the double eviction, and even if she wins HOH, I don't see a good plan for her. I don't. I think it's almost like in this double, it's going to be either... I think it's going to be like MJ, Angela, or Kimo are really the three people in danger. There's some ways Cam can get evicted, but I think it's less likely. So, that leads us to the player rankings. Who do you all think I have at number 4? I think you guys know who it's between. Everyone's saying Kimo, 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 Kimo. Well, in order to explain this ranking, I'm going to reveal the ranking, then I'm going to pass it on to Commander Pause. Because one thing you all don't know about Commander Pause, he is the person who coined the term jury management. He's an expert on the subject. That's why he's on the panel. And he's going to explain why I'm pulling the wrong thing down. Rubina is number 4. Take it away. Well, this is a very simple calculation. Neither Kimo or Rubina are self-interested. Both of them want to go to the Final 3 with Chelsie. That is a disaster for the both of them. But let's play out this world. Kimo and Rubina get to the Final 3 with Chelsie. At least they still are going to take each other, right? Kimo and Rubina will take each other over Chelsie. And I think Kimo wins that spot. While Rubina has a better social game, she's better connected in the house, I think Kimo is going to get, or Rubina has better connections, I think Kimo is sitting in a better spot jury-wise. And the reason is, Quinn is a massive Kimo fan. Loves Kimo. Angela loves Kimo. T-Core is a Kimo before a Rubina vote as well. Those are 3 votes already that I think Kimo's got. I think Kimo also did a really good job with Leah after Leah was blindsided. I think he did a very, good job comforting her. And while, Leah thinks Kimo and Rubina are the problem, she's obviously directing more animosity towards Leah. Or towards Rubina. Kimo just has to articulate his game well. I think Kimo is very capable of articulating his game. He is a fan, and he gives great fucking speeches. Last time he was on the block, eviction night, or I guess he was there with Quinn too, he gave an amazing speech against Joseph, and it's the only reason he stayed. He flipped Chelsie and MJ. He also has a wonderful story. His story is great. And I don't mean that from a game perspective, not Taylor Hale being the sword and the shield and all that. Kimo is very good at articulating how important it is to him that he gets this experience to represent his community, and he's going to give that in his speech, and it might flip someone like MJ or Chelsie again. And when it comes to competitions, Rubina is undoubtedly stronger than Kimo. I'm more the competition expert. Rubina's good, but I don't think Rubina's good enough to really get, notable credit over Kimo in that regard. They're both pretty weak competitors. I'd give Rubina more of a shot of winning something, but at the end of the day, it's kind of a wash. As Commander Paz said, Kimo, I think, just has better jury prospects. He might be targeted before Rubina, but ultimately, I think the only way either of them win is against each other, because they're both trying to go to the end with Chelsie. So I think, the real jury question I'm envisioning is who wins, Kimo or Rubina versus each other. That's, most of the math I'm doing. Thank you, Night Cheese. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's my turn to talk. Yeah, Rubina got second multiple times. Second schmeckend. America got second to BB Comics. Cory went home that week. And Blue got second in the final 7 veto and went home that week. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter. We don't take consolation prizes in this house. When the jury asks what was your big move, Kimo and Rubina will just sit there in silence. Well, that's the beauty. You go to the final 2 together. What are they going to do? Thank you, Deborah, for the tier 1. I appreciate you. Leah got second in his vetoes going home. Literally. Edgar needs pink hat, please. All right. Watch this. Fuck. Throw it better next time, Cory. Sorry. So ultimately, while Rubina is a better competitor, while she's more connected in the game, I don't think, considering the specific circumstances of this game and the layout, I don't think that provides the advantages. Whereas Kimo has better jury prospects, and that is why he is ranked at number 3 instead of Rubina's number 4. Yeah, there's no suspense. Kimo's 3. Kimo's 3. And I think we already explained it, frankly. I don't feel the need to go more in on Kimo. You know what I mean? I think the Kimo-Rubina discussion was they're both together. If either of them win HOH, I anticipate they're going to do like, I don't know, MJ and Angela, maybe Cam, MJ, but probably MJ, Angela, and it'll just end up being MJ going home probably. Maybe Angela if MJ wins a veto. All the talk about wanting 2 women at the final 2, if Chelsie is next to a man, she's the only female choice. It's really that important to T-Core, Rubina, and MJ. Here's what I think you should keep in mind about that. And, I mean, Commander Pause is the expert in jury management. Whenever T-Core talked about, like, a woman's alliance or a woman winning, she always included or Kimo. Kimo, you know what I mean? I don't think the women would view Kimo winning as this, like, colossal failure. Oh, my God, we let a guy win, even though obviously that is what happened. I think they perceive Kimo very differently. So, anyways. Okay. Let's move on to number 2. It's Cam. Come on. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? We'll reveal the whole player rankings. If it's all right, boys, I'm going to take this one. Yeah, it's all good. 100%. So, the deal with Chelsie and Cam is, let's be real. Like, what I should do is I should have 3 power rankings. I should have the power rankings, I should have the chopping block, and then I should have the winner. And there's been a lot of discussion about Chelsie and all of the flaws and the mistakes she makes. And I'm very critical of Chelsea's game. What I think should be noted is when we compare Chelsie to other winners, we don't remember those other winners' small mistakes. Because they've all made a ton. Maggie made a ton of mistakes. Nicole Franzel in 18 made a ton of mistakes. There's very few players who play like perfect games. Andy played a pretty perfect game. Derek played a pretty perfect game. Cody played a pretty perfect game. Cody's a little bit less perfect. Dan never played a perfect game. So obviously all of Chelsea's mistakes are very front of mind, top of mind, and that's why we don't think of her as highly. That being said, I do think if we were to do a winner's ranking right now, I think I'd have her at the bottom few spots of the top 10. I think I'd have her like 9th or 10th. I think a lot of people would argue like this cast is extremely weak. And the cast is extremely weak. I think that is something that is very, very fair to consider. But most Big Brother casts are very weak. Big Brother 25 was a weak cast. Was it stronger than 26? I think so, but, you know, they're both bad players. 24, a very weak cast. 23, strong cast. 21, kind of a strong cast. 20, 19, weak. Like, there's a lot of weak casts in Big Brother history. It takes a really good player to make a weak cast look really weak. And Chelsie is a very strong player. There was that viral clip of me saying how everyone's terrible and Chelsea's not even good. In the heat of passion, talking about the Big Brother live feed, sometimes you say things, okay? Chelsea's a good player. Now, Chelsie made a ton of mistakes. A ton of them. A lot of people give her credit for pulling in MJ. Well, she did that way too late, and she's lucky MJ still stuck around. She's also lucky she's part of the most religious season in Big Brother history. Of course, or one of the most religious seasons in Big Brother history. That helps her, right? She is lucky that Cory kind of gave her Kimo and Rubina after she got evicted. Because last week, Chelsie tried to keep Cory and failed. But all of these things that are lucky to Chelsie are also things she contributed to. Chelsie did have a good relationship with Cory, and for whatever reason, Cory trusted Chelsie more than she should have. And that led to getting Kimo and Rubina on her side. Chelsie and MJ, despite Chelsie seemingly disliking MJ for 90% of the season, somehow this bond of faith has connected them enough, and Chelsie takes it less seriously than MJ, and that's a good thing. I have no problem using that as strategy. I think a lot of things this season has fallen into Chelsea's lap, but when life gives you lemons, she's made a very, very effective and tasty lemonade. And she did face real adversity. The move of the season. What do you guys think it is? Because I think a lot of people would say this week, and I think this week was massive, and you could definitely argue getting rid of Leah here is the move of the season. Exactly. A princess said it right. The move of the season was getting rid of Tucker, and Chelsie was the one who led that vote flip. Quinn, I think, in his own mind, took a lot of the credit for that. That was Chelsea's move, and it was super, super incredibly important because it separated Cory, Kimo, and Rubina from all of them. They all went to Chelsie, and that is what's setting up Chelsie for this winning endgame. I do not give Leah for that flip. I don't. I simply do not. That was Chelsea's move. Just like the Izzy flip, there's a pie chart you can make and give credit away all these different ways. Chelsie has the biggest slice of the pie, and it's not close. It's not close. Chelsie may have a hard time getting votes to win. I don't think she will because I think it's so hard to deny her impact on the season. And I think she's going to get Cory, Kimo, and Rubina as long as one of them's not sitting there. I think Chelsea's big... You know, this is going to sound a little bit counterintuitive. I don't think Chelsie should win and put up Kimo and Rubina, but it would be really good for Chelsie if Kimo or Rubina goes home on this double. Because if Kimo and Rubina are off the block, all three of them are out of the game in the jury house. All three of them might vote for Chelsie. But if one of them is sitting next to Chelsie, she loses the other two's votes. It's weirdly very important to Chelsie that she gets all three of the trio in the jury house, but she can't do it too head on because obviously they're going to be upset by that. I don't think she has a ton of jury problems. I think Quinn's going to vote for Chelsie because he thinks she's the best player. Cory is going to be a Chelsie vote. I assume Cam will be a Chelsie vote. You know, I think she'll have enough votes. I don't think it'll be a landslide because I don't think everyone loves her, but she'll have enough. Her real final two might be Angela. I don't think so. I think her real final two is Cam, and I think that's a good final two for her. If I'm her, I would try to get to the end with Cam. So, that's the deal with Chelsie. Just a quick, brief talk about Cam. It's kind of hard to say with Cam. Like, he wants to go to the end with Chelsie. The way he wins is if someone else takes out Chelsie or if he wisens up. We don't have much of a reason to believe he's going to wisen up. But he is a likable guy. He's not very good at competitions, but if it's a ball pit comp, he's probably just going to win it anyways. And when it comes to this endurance comp that's coming up, he probably has the best shot of winning it at this point. The final three, part one. I'd bet on him over anybody else. So, like, even if he's not good at comps, you'd imagine he's going to get one or two more by the end of the season. Is Cam this season's Azza? Maybe. I don't know. Azza's tweets about the MJ Leah stuff made me think Cam might be better. She did preface with, I'm not that, like, aware of what's going on this season, but that was... that made me think, like, huh. People that are in showmances usually leave on double evictions. Well, good thing is there's no showmances this season remaining. Thank you, Ned. Angela for double HOH. We were talking about it, Ned. I don't think that's even, like, a good outcome. I just don't want to see you putting Chelsie over Maggie again. I think Maggie should have lost to April. I think she got lucky that it didn't work out that way. But yeah, it's a different game. I think Maggie and Chelsie are very close. If Angela wins HOH, she's not even going to be able to get whoever she wants out. It's probably going to be MJ. It's a good outcome. Angela isn't evicted. Yeah, I guess. I think the best outcome for me is I want Chelsie to win HOH and get rid of MJ. That's my dream. That's what I'm hoping for. Because then it'll give everyone else a chance to play in HOH next week and know Chelsea's the target. Or know they should target Chelsie, and then they will or they won't. But yeah, it's hard to... What is there to say about Cam? Who wins in a Cam MJ final too? I think MJ loses to everybody except maybe Angela. And that's a close vote. Mari gave her a 10 this week, and I totally agree. Mari was not a fan of Cory's during BB 25, so maybe I'm predisposed against Mari. But I heard her case, and I liked it. I think she's obviously very impassioned. I think it's retroactively assigning a lot of credit to Chelsie where she didn't deserve it, but this week she gets all the credit. The Tucker week, I give her all the credit. I think Chelsea's playing a great game. I think Mari's definitely just taking the very optimistic side of it. Like she's like in every moment where it's like, do I give Chelsie credit or not? She's saying absolutely. I think that makes sense, right? So that does it for the player rankings. I want to thank you, Edgar, of course, and thank you, Commander O'Neill. It was a good time. That is going to be it for the stream as well. Obviously, I flew into Nashville today, so I'm very tired. I think America and I might run and try to see a movie. I know it's late, but we'll try to see if we can do something. I appreciate you guys. The podcast will be out in the next hour. I just got to upload it. But I appreciate you.